of God. Problems will always come, but they will never remain. And problems will always attack you, but they are not meant to continue with your life. You must find a way, a technology, a system on how to push problems from your life. So that word Jabez itself was dangerous, having Jabez around your life. There are people that even when they come to your life, they don't come with bad intentions, but because of the programming that is upon their lives, or because of their mentioning, it shifts your life to a bad and a difficult trajectory. So you need now the eyes of the Spirit to know the people that comes within your vicinity. Some of us, the reason why our lives have taken this shape, this color that is blackish, is because of the people that we have allowed within our cliques and circles. People that are engineers and architects of sorrow. Not because they are intentional about it, but because of how they were given birth. So Jabez can be a person, and Jabez can be a situation that you find yourself in. I want to show you the mystery in the Bible about names. Every name that you meet and encounter in the Bible is not just a name and an identifier. It's not just a name of an individual, but it's a spiritual pathway that if followed, it will produce a kind of an evil. When the Bible is speaking about Abraham, Abraham is not just an individual, but it's a spiritual pathway that if you follow that spiritual pathway, it produces a kind of a believer that you want to become. That's why the Bible says in the book of Galatians, if Abraham is your father, then the blessing of Abraham is for you. It's a spiritual pathway. The Bible says, look unto Abraham your father. The Bible is not saying look at him, gaze at him, but you must learn the spiritual pathway of Abraham, your father. So it's a spiritual pathway that leads to blessings. When you're dealing with Jacob, Jacob is a spiritual pathway that leads to encounters. The Bible speaks of Jacob, that Jacob encountered God. So whatever is associated with Jacob is encounters. When you're dealing with Moses, Moses is not just an individual name, but it's a spiritual pathway that leads to coming out, because the name Moses means to draw out. So when you are with that man, you come out from situations. The name Isaac is not just a name of an individual, but it's a spiritual pathway that the moment you identify yourself with Isaac, you become great. Not only great, but works great. The Bible says, and Isaac planted in Gerar, and in Gerar it was a desert land, it was so hot. And the Bible says he produced and became great. And he was great until he became so great to the extent that the people around him, the Philistines, they became jealous of his life. It's a spiritual pathway to greatness. To the extent that even if they say on SABC, this year there's going to be recession, there's going to be drought. But because I associate myself with a spiritual pathway called Isaac, I'll put a seed down and I'm going to produce. I'm going to go to work with the same salary. I'm not going to suffer with my family. I'm going to go to school with the same salary and I'm not going to drop off ski. I'm going to build my mansion with the same salary. Why? Because I understand a spiritual pathway. I don't know if I'm talking to somebody in this place. The name David is not just a name of an individual, but it's a spiritual pathway. That the moment you connect yourself to David, you are connected to kingship, you are connected to monarchy. Everything that you do your life, it experiences the kingship of God. You become a king wherever you go. It's a spiritual pathway. The name Solomon is a spiritual pathway to wealth and abundance. It's not just a name, but it's a spiritual pathway. The name Deborah is a spiritual pathway of a heroine, a woman who stood amongst men, the likes of Barak, and she said unto Barak, let's go and fight our enemies. And we are going to win against our enemies. It's a spiritual pathway. The name Jesus Christ is not just a name, it's a spiritual pathway to salvation. Is your name a spiritual pathway to something? When people call your name, does it open spiritual pathways? When people are identified with you, are they identified to spiritual pathways? I prophesy upon this place that let your name then become a spiritual pathway that when you take your papers to any government office and